Welcome to the UEFA Champions League Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my friendly mate over here, Dan Tracy, across the pond. How are you today, sir?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Looking forward to the Champions League returning, which means we've got another opportunity to chat all things wagering and hopefully winning a bit more money.
Oh, absolutely. We had a great World Cup. Hopefully you were following all of Dan's content throughout that World Cup that he was able to supply for us. He's continuing to throw that up on thelines.com for you guys throughout the Champions League as well. So continue to check that out. Follow along by liking and subscribing as well to these videos. We already put up a video for you guys that's sort of, the intro to this sort of knockout stage of the Champions League and looking at the overarching odds for those who could win it and advance to the finals, futures bets of that nature, before we go ahead and get into a couple of games that we're going to go ahead and get into in this video right now. And we're going to be doing February the 14th here. So 2 games on that day, 2 very, very juicy matches, Tottenham and Milan in Italy playing there. And then we've got PSG and Bayern, this one in Paris. So we're going to start off with your boys here and Tottenham, who are in Italy taking on Milan in this one. I'll just read the current odds as I see them on DraftKings. Plus 155 for AC Milan to win this one in regular time, and Tottenham is plus 180. And I would also, and the draw is plus 225. I would also just say right now to advance, Milan is plus 120 and Tottenham is actually favored at minus 155. Obviously, they're not favored in this game because it's in Milan, so they're giving that edge to the home favorites. But I just want to add one more thing before I toss to you, Dan, which is that Milan is just tumbling down a hill right now. It could not be falling faster, plummeting, if you will. And that just as it reflects upon the current state of the lines, on January the 23rd, which was like 5 losses ago for AC Milan, they were actually only plus 110 to win in regulation. Tottenham was plus 240. Tottenham, on the other hand, has been on a pretty nice streak, including a nice win over Man City recently, and that has drawn things all the way down now to Tottenham plus 180, and AC Milan is all the way up to plus 155 to win this in regular time. So I set all of that up to ask you, what do you like as you first take a gander at all of these bets?
Well, forget Valentine's Day. This is where the action's going to be. AC Milan versus Tottenham. So I'll add a caveat to start with. I am a massive Tottenham fan, so I'm trying to remove all the bias that I can from my decisions.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. But in that, I am backing Tottenham to win because, as you said, AC Milan's form has been, well, non-existent. It's been quite rotten, really. They've got Torino this weekend, so they could break their unwanted streak of 5 matches without a win at the moment. So there is the chance to sort of at least get into some semblance of good shape before midweek. However, that aside, they have been absolutely dreadful. They conceded 4 to fellow Champions League hopefuls Lazio. They lost 5-2 to Sassuolo, which is even worse. They're just shipping goals left, right and centre. Considering they were the champions of Serie A last season, they're non-existent during this, and their top 4 hopes are hanging by a thread. So, with that, I've gone for Tottenham to win at plus 180 because you mentioned the win over Manchester City, and it just feels like in the last couple of weeks Tottenham have turned a corner because they were slightly indifferent after the World Cup break, draws, defeats. You're kind of thinking, has Antonio Conte just given up? Are we sort of just in the end of days before he moves on in the summer? But he's ill at the moment, and it seems that Conte not being in the touchline has not been a problem. Obviously, it's only been 1 game, but we were masterful against Man City, and I just feel that this competition is one of Tottenham's only real opportunities to win silverware this season. It's a drought which has gone on for 15 years now, so it's either this or the FA Cup. I just feel that now that Harry Kane's got that goal record off his back, that's done. He's going to be even more freer in terms of playing. So I just feel that, bias aside, I just feel that Tottenham are the stronger team. I just feel that they are going to edge this, and that's why the plus odds of plus 180, I think it's great value.
I do as well. I think if you want to be a little bit more cautious, you can say a draw no bet as well, something to that effect, which is still even money for Tottenham, unless you felt spicy enough that maybe you do give a little bit of the edge to Milan. At least you give them a little bit of added value because of the fact that they're playing at home. But however, Tottenham has been playing on the road, and obviously more in familiar confines than where they'll be playing now on the road, because it's been within the Premier League against teams they've obviously faced in their away state, in their other team's stadium plenty. But they are 3-1-0 on the road in their last 4 since the break on the the road with just that one draw and 3 wins, and they have outscored their opponents 8-2, including that one win in Manchester City the other day. So I think there's something to be said for them not necessarily being bothered by all that, and the plus 180 in this game I think is plenty good there. I want to move on to the total for 1 minute here, because an AC Milan team that at one point not that long ago was known as an incredibly impenetrable defense has begun hemorrhaging goals and giving up 5 in I think 3 games since the break, 3 different games since that time, including getting blown out by Inter as well, and Sassuolo, if you can believe it, who's ranked 15th on the season in that league. So is there a reason to believe that they're going to be able to shore that up? They're still going to be relying upon Olivier Giroud, to be able to, at 36 years old, to score the bulk of their goals. No Zlatan coming back for them anytime soon either. So not that he might, who knows what he'd be able to give them anyway. So I'm just kind of wondering how you see goals going in this game, considering that I don't think AC Milan has been able to score them or stop them from coming in. And Tottenham's been sort of, keeping it at normal 2-1, 2-2, 2-0 kind of pace that they've been playing.
Well, I've opted for over 1.5 in total for Tuesday. I just feel that, as you mentioned, AC Milan's defence is leaking in all directions at the moment, so that's a good starting point. But also, Tottenham's goalkeeper Hugo Lloris has been ruled out for 6 weeks, right, and that's going to be a real blow. Admittedly, he's not been at the same level that he has been for the past few seasons. You can sort of see that this is probably the end of Lloris's time at Spurs, or at least come the next season he'll be on the bench. You just got to see the sharpness isn't there, the agility, so on and so forth. So because Fraser Forster, Tottenham's replacement, is going to be in goal, you kind of lack that bit of security which would have come with Lloris in between the sticks. So I just feel that there's probably susceptibility for goals to come each side, or even Spurs could probably just get a 2-0 win, which covers you at over 1.5. So again, if you look at this from a both teams to score angle, that could also marry into this over 1.5 goals angle, because Milan, we've seen they can sort of score goals. They've just become absolutely useless in defence. And I feel that they probably are going to raise their game in the Champions League, because this is the last roll of the dice in terms of any silverware this season. So I feel it's going to be an entertaining clash. When they met 12 years ago, it was 1-0 to Tottenham in the San Siro. It was then a 0-0 draw in North London to follow. So Tottenham advanced 1-0 in aggregate. They'd obviously take that, but I just feel there's going to be a bit more in this match, because AC Milan's defence is not that gold standard which it once was, a decade ago, even last year. It's not that kind of level. So I feel that with Harry Kane, again, we mentioned him firing on all cylinders. He's sort of back in the groove after his World Cup disappointment. Heung-min Song is always handy in Europe. I just feel there's going to be goals there, and I just feel it's the right amount of value. It's nothing major, it's no real risk, but I just feel that over 1.5 goals at plus 150 is a good starting point for this Champions League betting.
Absolutely. And before we wrap up this game, any other interesting bets or notes that you wanted to add here?
Well, I'd like to look at Harry Kane at plus 140, as I say, just as an anytime bet. I think that's a great starting point. Correct score, again, if you're looking at the over 1.5 logic, you might want to go for, like a 2-0 Tottenham win, which you can get at plus 1200 if you want to really stretch it out. But again, if we're looking for goals, you might want to sort of say that it's 2-1 to Tottenham at plus 900. So looking for Tottenham to get 2 on their own, a bet, over 1.5 for Tottenham, might also be the way to sort of squeeze more value out of that bet. So if you're looking at it from a total point of view, plus 150, but with a Tottenham themselves getting 2 goals or more, that might be a way to extract even more value.
Yep, I feel that. I mean, even like a Tottenham winner draw and over 1.5 goals as well, a bit better than even money on that bet. So remember, there's a ton of fun ways to bet on all of these in this sport for all of those of you coming to it now. Dan, let's move on to our other game of the day, which is a former finals matchup in the Champions League just a few Champions Leagues ago. They also faced off last year. Bayern Munich and PSG faced off last year in the knockout stage as well, I believe April of 21. So lots to look at from these two teams and the way they've played. I will say, I'll just read off the odds here and a bit of the narrative too. Obviously, PSG coming into this tournament is consistently unfortunately. Is the French league strong enough to prepare them for UEFA? And I mean, talent is talent at this point. I'm not really interested in that quite as much. But this game is in PSG's at home here, plus 155 for them on the money line in regulation. A draw is plus 270, and Bayern to win in regulation is plus 160. We should also mention what we talked about briefly in our futures market video for the Champions League here, that Kylian Mbappe is likely out after an injury that he sustained before their last match, where they actually just lost to Marseille after he got injured and was unavailable in that last one. Sergio Ramos actually played in that one, so I think he'll probably be okay to go, although he was injured in the same game. Just not quite as of a happy prospects that seems for Paris Saint-Germain right now, and Bayern comes in after scoring 18 goals and only conceding 2 in their 6 group stage matches that they won all 6 of.
Yeah, it's kind of strange at PSG at the moment. On the surface, all looks well. Top of the league. They're probably going to win Liga once again. But, as you say, Mbappe is injured. He might be back, he might not. It might be a smokescreen. But he's certainly out now at the time of recording. So there's that for them to worry about. They are out of the French Cup. They lost to Marseille just a few days ago. Lionel Messi looks like, after conquering soccer, he kind of dropped down a level, which I can understand, because when you've conquered the highest heights, it's kind of like, got to play Lille or Lens, it's just not that exciting, is it? So he's not firing on all cylinders. There's just something not quite clicking. You've got the cloud of Mbappe as to whether he'll go in the summer. There's all the discussion about his contract, which is again sort of taking the focus off the football. And I just feel that Bayern Munich, after their sluggish start to the season, are absolutely rampant at the moment, and kind of business is back in Germany. They're looking like they're going to win the Bundesliga for the 11th year in a row. So for PSG, winning the League is the bare minimum, and they're just about going to do that, but winning the Champions League, it almost looks a step too far. So for that reason, I've gone for a Bayern Munich win in the first leg, but also I've gone for over 1.5 goals to that bet at plus 190, because I just feel that with Mbappe, that question mark over who he's playing, with Messi, again, he might make me eat my words and have an amazing game because he always finds a level in the Champions League, but he's just not quite been there in the last sort of few weeks post World Cup, so I'm not sure he'll be able to sort of drag PSG on their own. I just feel that Bayern have got such attacking prowess that they've managed to add to that in the January window, because Neuer broke his leg after going skiing, but they brought in Jan Sommer, the Swiss international goalkeeper, great replacement, maybe even an upgrade when you consider that Neuer's starting to fade. They've also brought in, more importantly, João Cancelo as a defender on loan from Man City. Not that Bayern Munich do much defending, but he's certainly going to shore up the back line and also be an auxiliary right winger like he showed in his debut only recently. Yep. So this is a game that's certainly going to lend itself to goals. And I just feel that if you're going for just a pure winner, it's a toss of a coin. So, it's probably plus 150 either way. And I just like the fact it's going to be quite an entertaining clash, or it should be an entertaining clash. You've obviously got the repeat of the 2020 final. That was only 1 goal in it, but they were stranger times during COVID. No one was really sort of looking at a form guide back then. So I just feel that, the away win, 2 total goals, plus 190, job done.
I like it. I like the addition of João Cancelo in the back as well. They got him to play in the Champions League. That's why they loaned him. So I think there's a good reason to believe he'll be running up the right side, deep into the attacking third as well. I agree with all of that. I do like over 1.5 goals, and I do like Bayern as well. I think there's just a bit of a deflation that comes knowing that Kylian is not there to just sort of bail you out, which I think they've relied upon at times. Like you said, Messi a bit lackluster. I'm wondering if maybe he has a bit of like internal revenge almost. He's been slammed by Bayern a few times, including that 8-2 smacking he took a few years back, right? So maybe there's something there for him wanting to sort of recover his claim as one of the best Champions League players of all time, as you mentioned. But I don't know. That was a different time on a different team with a different center midfield as well from what he's going to be having here. So interesting about Neuer as well. If you kind of read some of the news about him, he's getting slammed in the German press by his managers and by the press. That's an interesting spot for them, but not worried about Bayern's defense at all, to be honest with you. It's really, I think the 1.5 goals, I think I'm actually more relying on Bayern to score 2, if anything, in that one, to be honest. So next bet for you, Dan, what else are you looking at? I guess total we know, and Bayern we know. Anything else that interests you in this game? Yeah,
I've gone for an early goal. So if I'm asking for 2 in total, I want one of those in the first 15 minutes. And if that's the case, I get plus 170. So, with all this attacking talent that we're talking about, with PSG's issues in terms of defence, I just feel that if PSG score first, it's going to bring Bayern Munich out to sort of then make the game even more interesting. If Bayern do the same, PSG have got to roll the dice. And I just feel that neither team's going to really want to sit back, because usually in Champions League football, the first tie is a case of don't lose it, stay in the tie, let's see what happens in the second leg. With these two teams, it's got a kind of, right, we need to get the advantage early, and what better way to do that than sort of really put a stake in the ground after 5-10 minutes. So it's always a bit of a risk because you've given yourself such small time, such a small window to get a goal, but I feel it offers quite good value when you consider all the players that will be playing. You know, we look past Messi, but you've got Serge Gnabry, Leroy Sané, Choupo-Moting, who else? I'm trying to think now. The one who I can't remember.
Well, Mane's been out.
Yes, hang on. Neymar, Etiquette. Yes, there's loads. Yes, there are.
Yes.
There are loads of options. So, so as I say, why not go for an early goal and then, what happens thereafter? And if that is the case, then your kind of road to 2 goals becomes a lot shorter. So that's why I've just picked an early goal just to ratchet up the entertainment factor a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I like it. And we are at a good stage in the tournament to be able to find some more interesting bets as well. Hopefully we were able to bankroll a little bit during those preliminary group stages. So that is all the time that we have for you for these February 14th games. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Follow along for all these Champions League games that Dan and I are bringing you. And head to thelines.com, where Dan's going to be having all of this stuff in written form for you guys on thelines.com throughout. So until we see you next, happy betting.